it's Jo from Minerva. Today we are going to do a sew along for a bag, and the bag we're going to make is the Compass Bag by Noodlehead. Noodlehead do very sophisticated bag patterns. They've got all the gubbins that you'd want, inside pockets, slip pockets, zips, different closures. So you do learn quite a lot by choosing a Noodlehead bag. The fabrics that I've chosen for this pattern are an art gallery canvas. There are lots of different art gallery canvases, so you could switch this in and out for your preference. An accent fabric for the straps and the pockets, that's a black canvas. This comes in 13 different colours, so depending on which pattern fabric you choose for your bag, you can coordinate with your plain canvas. A bag lining, so this is going to have an ochre colour lining. This is in canvas too because it will give your bag a little bit of stability. Some stiff interfacing for stiffening your bag, the base and the outer exterior. A product you might not have used, which is a fusible fleece. So this is a kind of wadding that you put in bags, but it's got a gluey side so you can stick it down to keep it stable while you're sewing. There's quite a lot of hardware involved in this pattern as well. There's D-rings, clips, little bits and pieces, but I'll show you those as I go along. You will definitely need a jeans needle. That's a number 90 or 100 for going through very thick layers of fabric. And you will need some black cotton, obviously, or whichever matches your fabric. And I'll show you any other tools that I use along the way that make sewing a little bit easier. All the products that I use are listed below along with the tools, so if you hover over them it will say add to basket, and you can add the whole product list to your basket and then edit as necessary, or you can use the quantities that are shown to go and choose your own fabrics to make the compass bag. As with all bags, especially Noodlehead ones that have got a lot of details, the cutting out requires you to put aside quite a bit of time to make sure that you've got all of the separate pieces. We're going to go over to the cutting table and make sure that we get all of the parts and components that we need. So there is a bag lining base, an outer base. The lining base has interfacing on the back, and the exterior base has fleece on the back, and they're all listed on each pattern piece, so you know how many to cut out of each part. And there is the main shape of the bag. So there is the exterior piece, which is in this art gallery black and white canvas. This has fleece on the back, and there is the lining pieces, and they have interfacing on the back. You need to be sure that when you cut out the main bag piece that you cut one out, a pair out this way and then a pair out that way, so that you get that nice shape on the top of your bag. So there's a lot of cutting out with all bags really, because there's all different components, and then it's key to sew them all together in the right order. As with all my sew-alongs, I am going to follow the instructions as they are listed on the pattern. I'm not going to change the order of it or anything, so that if you're following the pattern, you can go through the different stages. Number one is to assemble the shoulder strap. So you're going to fuse interfacing into the centre portion of your strap, and then you're going to fold the sides into the middle. I like to leave a little gap so that I don't get a bulk on this crease. Fold it in half, and that's going to make your strap, so it's 4 layers of fabric wide. It's the amount that we're turning in against the strap and then doubled over. It's quite tricky to get a pin in there, so I have been using some clover clips because I can hold together quite bulky pieces of fabric without bending my pins. You're going to top stitch along both edges of the strap. Step D is to add our first bit of hardware, which is a buckle slider, and this is so that your strap is adjustable. And you can make a fixed shoulder strap from this pattern, but I'm going to show you how to use these sliders. So you'll only need one, so you've got one for another bag. And on step D, you're going to slip the bag strap through the slider and then fold over the end and secure that in place. Step E is to add the swivel clips. You put a swivel bar onto the other end of your strap. So we've got one end with the slider, one end with nothing. Thread it on, and then with the join facing the table, we're going to put the shoulder strap through the slider like this, and then we can adjust it. You've got to make sure it's not twisted. So then you will have a slider which is adjustable and the swivel clip on the other end, and then on the other end you put the second swivel clip and you're going to use the same as you did on the back of the swivel clip. You're going to flip the end over and sew across the end. Again, I've got the selvage, so I'm just going to trim those hairy bits off. I'm going to leave the selvage. I'm going to leave the selvage line because that's stopping it from fraying. This is stage F. So you've got your D-ring holder, which is a little piece of fabric. You might imagine it to be cut like that, but actually you need to fold it with the short ends, the same as you did for the strap, and then you're going to sew down each side. Our next bit of hardware are D-rings. You get 4 of these, but you will need 2. So you've got a slider for another bag and 2 D-rings for another bag. And the D-ring goes through the tab, and then you can fold the tab in half, and that's the shape that you're looking for. And then you can just machine tack along the end of there so it doesn't keep popping open. You need to make 2 of those. Step J is to make the strap tab. So you will have another little square. You're going to put a piece of interfacing on it, and then you're going to sew from the ends backwards and forwards into the middle, and then you're going to leave a 1.5 inch gap. I've drawn a line so that I've got the right seam allowance, and then you're going to turn it through this gap that you've left. Once it's turned right sides together, I'm then going to press it down, and now I'm going to sew along each end, and then I can turn it out through that little 1.5 inch gap that I left. The ends are sewn. I'm going to clip off the corners because I want this to be a nice clean square when I turn it through, and then I'm going to make sure that the corners are nice and square when I turn it through. Okay, those are all the components of step 1. So that's the D-ring tabs, the little strap tab and the completion of the main shoulder strap. And now we're going to move on to the pockets that are on the outside. There are two different types of pockets depending on if you make view A or view B, because the one bag's a little bit bigger than the other one, so the slip pocket on the outside is a little bit bigger. So make sure you cut the right pocket for the right size bag that you're making. 2A is to put two pocket pieces together. So you put a pocket lining and a slip pocket right sides together, sew around, turn it out, and then it's very tricky to show you on black, but then you need to top stitch along the edge. So that is the slip pocket that goes on the outside of the bag. Here, they've both got cargo flap tops, but you could just have the slip pocket on its own if that's more your style. And you need to make two of these. Step 3 in the instructions is to make the pocket flaps. So that's the tops of the cargo pockets, and that comes in 3 little parts. You need to put the right sides of the pocket flaps together. So I've got an outer pocket that I had in pattern fabric and a lining in canvas. You're going to sew the seam allowance around the curve, clip out the curves, and then turn the pocket through to the right side, and then you can start to work. I use a seam gauge. You can start to work some of that fabric around that corner nicely, because this is going to be on the outside and it's quite a feature of your bag. And then you're going to press that, make sure you curl or roll the lining slightly to the back so that you don't have any of the lining showing, and then you're going to top stitch around the edge of that cargo pocket flap, and that's ready now to go onto the bag, and that's step 3. Step 4 is to assemble the exterior of the bag. So this will have the fusible fleece on, and you're going to join the pieces together. Now, I did do this in the wrong order, so you can see where I've got a little bit of unpicking, and bag making is all about getting it in the right order, because I joined the centre front seams first. I was really keen because I'd done some pattern matching, so I wanted to check that my pattern matched up. But actually you need to join the side seams first so that you can construct the slip pocket over the top of that. So you don't join the centre front seam first, you join the side seam first, and then you need to top stitch either side of your seam. You'll know it's the side seam because it's the side that's raised up in the middle. So when you look at the top line, this is lower, this is the centre seam where you'll put your hand into your bag, and this is the side seam where you'll have the strap and the pocket. Next, you're going to put those pockets on, so you're going to find the centre line of your pocket, match it up with the centre seam, pin if you can pin, clip if you need to clip, if your fabric's thick. And we're going to top stitch the pocket in place. Okay, we're going to put the flap on now. So 1 inch from the top of the pocket, so I'm just going to use the seam gauge. I'm going to put the pocket flap. I'm going to mark that there. I'm going to centre the pocket flap and I'm going to use a 1/8 seam allowance. It's a really small one. I have zigzagged the edge of that to stop it fraying when I was working with it, so I'm going to use the line edge of the zigzag as my guide, and then that pocket's going to flap down, then we're going to top stitch it, so all of that raw edge will be enclosed anyway. And then repeat for the other side. Step N is to complete your exterior pocket, which is part of step 4. So you're going to put your tab with your ring on it on this centre fold, and then you're going to use your square to go over the top, the little tab that you made to go over the top. So you follow the instructions. It is 2 inches down from the top. So you mark 2 inches from the top to the bottom of your tab ring. So your tab ring's going to go about there. You baste it on, and then you can put your tab square over the top, and then you can sew all the way around and then put a cross through the middle. Okay, to help the bag go around the corners, you will see where I got to the end of sewing my base and I went forwards and back. And now I'm going to snip into the fleece and the exterior. Don't go through the stitching here, and don't cut the base underneath. And that will help you to turn the corner. So you see the next one here, look. This is where I went forwards and back, and then there is where I'm going to cut, making sure that I don't cut the base below or into the stitch line. I'm going to do that on every corner, and that will help us to manipulate that corner, and the base will go around like this, so you'll get much more of a corner shape because your fabric here can splay open a little bit. That is the end of the exterior bag. So you've got that square in the bottom with some nice corners, and it stands up on its own. It's really strong because it's got those slip pockets on the side that are giving it a little bit of strength. Step 6, you will put together the bag lining with one side left open, and we will have a back that's been marked on the pattern, and then we're going to work on the zip pocket piece, and you'll need a marker pen, a fine one. A chalk will be too chunky for you to get a really nice opening for your zip, so this is an air erasable pen that's got a fine line on the end. Let me show you how to mark that. You're going to do a horizontal line 1 inch from the top down, draw a line. Then you're going to mark 3/8 of an inch down and draw a line. So you've got a little zip opening in the middle. And then from this edge here, you're going to go in 5/8, and this edge here in 5/8. So you should have a little letterbox shape to insert your zip. The next critical measurement is to have your lining right side up and your zip pocket with the markings side facing you, and you're going to find the halfway point and line it up with this back seam, and that's where the lining dips. Remember, the humps are the sides and this is the back of your bag. It does say that in the pattern. And you're going to pin on your pocket, and it needs to be 3 inches from the top of your bag. Now you're going to use that rectangle envelope letterbox shape that you drew, and you're going to sew with quite a small stitch length, near a 2. And you're going to sew all the way round that letterbox shape. And pivot on the corners and be as accurate as you can. This is where you need a really sharp pair of scissors. These have got very sharp points because you're going to cut along this rectangle and then clip into the corners without cutting the stitching. Then when we've made the opening, then we can flip the pocket through that opening that we make. And then we can flip this pocket through the gap. And you'll know if you've gone close enough to the corners because it will go through on the edges. You might need to go back and just clip a little bit more if you're getting, mine's not done quite enough, if you're getting little puckers like that, you're not quite in the corner. I have a confession to make. My lining has changed colour because I spilled a whole cup of coffee on my mustard coloured one, so I've cut another one out of black. So the rest of the lining you will see in the black canvas. So with the black lining, I have my zip pocket behind, and I've clipped the corners so that I've not got any puckering here that's making this flip up. And then I am able to put a zip behind here. So the zip goes underneath. It's more tricky to see now. Like this. The letterbox opening is exactly the right size for the zip, which is listed below, so you'll be able to see the size. And then I'm going to top stitch very carefully and very neatly around the zip. You now have a zip into the pocket, but the pocket is going to be folded up to make the inside facing. So step 6L is to finish the pocket from the reverse. So this is the wrong side of your lining. You're going to lift your pocket lining so that it meets the top. So you've got your zip underneath like this, and you're going to pin that lining in place, ready to sew. Step M, working from, so you've pinned the pocket up, working from the right side of the fabric showing, you're now going to sew the edges of your pockets but not catch the lining or any other part of the pocket. And then you can do the same from the other side and sew down the side of the pocket lining. Step P, as part of the internal pocket arrangements, are to sew the 2 slip pocket pieces together, a lining and an outer. You're going to leave a gap to turn it out. And sew all the way around, clip the corners, turn it the right side out, and then that is going to sit below your zippered pocket. Last stage of the slip pocket is to pin the pocket lining up out of the way so that you can put your slip pocket on top, top stitch, and then you can release this lining and it will go down, but you won't have caught it in this stitching. complete the lining now. So we're going to sew down that remaining seam on the lining. And it's that time to do that tricky top stitch where we need to roll the tube shape under the machine so that we can top stitch each side. It's time to repeat the bag base. So we're going to match the notches, clip the corners, and we're going to leave a space here to turn the bag. So we're going to leave some of this bag open so that we can turn it out when we assemble the outer and inner lining. Our last bit of hardware are the magnet snaps for making the closure on the top of the bag. We're going to measure 1.5 inches from the top of the bag, lining down to here with the wrong side showing. Then you're going to mark where the prongs will go through on the magnet snap, tricky on black. And then we can use a stitch ripper to make two little prong marks that go through the lining. So you can apply the magnet snaps and then they can meet each other there. You can also put a little bit of fabric over the top of that to stop it rubbing a mark onto your outer fabric as well. That makes it last a little bit longer. And now it's time to assemble the bag. Step 8 is to assemble your bag, and you're going to put your exterior inside your interior, your lining, with the right sides together. You need to make sure that all this metal hardware is all pointing down out of the way, because we're going to sew around here with a sewing machine and we don't want to catch any of this. And so all of that is going to be pressed down out of the way, and then we're going to match up our top stitch seams in the centre, really close to finishing. We're on the back page. We've turned the bag the right side out, and now it's time to top stitch around the top of the bag, and it's worth taking a little bit of time with that because that's going to be the finished edge that you see. Be careful at the ends here where you've got the D-ring, make sure you pull that right out of the way so that you can get behind it with your foot. Today's sew along was the Compass Bag by Noodlehead. I made the small bag. There is a larger one as well for putting a bit more gear in, sewing things and going to the beach. This one's more a large handbag style. All Noodlehead patterns are worth a look. They've got superb instructions. There was a whole booklet to work through today, giving good diagrams and good seam allowances and measurement instructions. You can make a really accurate bag using a Noodlehead pattern. So there we are, there's the bag finished. It's got a pattern match on the front. You've got the slip pockets on the side, and those really add strength, so when you put the bag down it doesn't collapse, it stays up really nice and firm all the way around to the back. Inside, obviously I've got a bit of a strange thing on the inside. I've got a yellow slip pocket and a yellow base. The reason I chose a yellow lining is because it's easy to find your things in the bottom of your bag if you've got a lighter coloured lining. So the black lining is not ideal, I don't think, because you can't see everything in there, but it helped me to complete the bag, which is good. All the products that I've used are listed below. The quantities are there too, but you might want to switch in and out the colour combinations to match your outer pattern fabric, so you can choose a different colour for the inside and your accent colours. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions, please list those below. Bag making does have some specific skills, and some people really love it, and some people like to make garments, but I think sometimes it's a really good chance to steer away from fitting and really consider 3D construction.